this one I have two articles that we are going to read through together and talk about them. And I'm also in the background gonna be drawing, coloring, tapping, a lot of book and notebook related triggers and other stuff, so that it may take away from the grimness of the things that I'm talking about, and it could help you fall asleep. Currently my channel is on 555 subscribers, and I have a goal to reach 1,000 by the end of this year, 2024. That would be awesome if you could subscribe if you enjoy this combination of sounds. The first article that we are going to be looking at is on nypost.com, nypost.com, and it is titled Body of Missing Ohio Woman 24 Found by Sanitation Workers as Cops Arrest Boyfriend with Violent Past. It's published on July 3rd, 2024. The body of a missing 24-year-old Ohio woman was found by sanitation workers Wednesday, as police believe her allegedly violent boyfriend murdered her. The remains of a Raychel Sheridan, Raychel Sheridan, Sheridan, of Plain Township were discovered by Canton employees in the southwest area of the city around 9:30 a.m. Jennifer Yarnell, Sheridan's friend, neighbor, and co-worker, said, quote, "This is unimaginable. She could have been so much more than this." End quote. What does that mean? She could have been so much more than being dead. Yes. She is so beautiful. It's so sad. Sheridan was reported missing by her mother on Tuesday, and deputies went to her apartment for a welfare check. When officers arrived, the front door was open and nobody was inside. But police determined the scene seemed suspicious and obtained a search warrant. While waiting for the search warrant, deputies spotted a vehicle, a maroon Jeep Liberty that belonged to the missing woman driving in the area. and detectives have determined that Sheridan was murdered inside of the apartment. End quote. Raychel's cause of death has not yet been determined. The investigation is ongoing. Sean was arrested in the early morning Wednesday at a Canton homeless shelter on active warrants for burglary, grand theft of a firearm, and multiple misdemeanor domestic violence charges involving Raychel Sheridan. He is currently being held at the Stark County Jail on $1 million bond. Jennifer Yarnell, Rachel's friend, said, quote, "I can't believe she's gone. I can't believe I'm going to walk out to this parking lot and not see that red Jeep out here anymore." End quote. Jennifer said she witnessed Raychel and Sean's violent relationship firsthand. Quote, "I told her more than once that this is not where she needed to be and that she needed to get away." End quote. Sean allegedly stole a handgun from a North Canton residence in April and in May, physically threatened Raychel, and cut holes in her tires. Jennifer said, "I walked out of her door and her tires were slashed. I said, 'What happened to your tires?' And she said, 'Sean happened to my tires.'" That is the end of this article. As you can see, there is not much information available, but I searched further, and there are some people that are saying that Raychel could have been pregnant. That is not confirmed. I will keep you updated if there is new information out about this tragic case. Now, on to the next article. It is written in Farsi, but I'm going to be translating it for you. It is about a serial killer in 1960s in Iran. Before I started, I found something really interesting about this case, and that is that I didn't even heard of this man's name ever, and I'm sure no one around me, or maybe even no one alive in this country, knows his name, which is interesting because he's one of the most prolific serial killers with the most horrifying story that I'm going to tell you, but still no one has ever heard his name. And I felt a type of horror reading this that I've never felt while reading stories from other countries, especially in the US. And I don't think that's only because it's close to home. It's really not. It's from more than 60 years ago. I think the reason for it is because people in America, or in the West in general, they really romanticize serial they get caught, they are executed. And in between of those times, there's no one who wants to talk to these people. I'm not saying which is better in sense of convicting people. I just really like to know how is that people remember Jeffrey Dahmer and Ted Bundy's name all around the world only because they were Americans. I don't know, let me know what you think and why no one here knows this man's name. I'm glad about it, but we are going to talk about him tonight. God knows how many years has it been since someone last talked about this man and his truly heinous crimes. The article is written a couple of years ago, and it is titled How a Man Named Hushang Amini Beheaded 23 people. This took place in Varamin, Tehran, Iran. Varamin is one of the counties of the province of Tehran, which is the capital of Iran. Iran is made out of 31 provinces, and this is the province of Tehran, which includes the city of Tehran, and on the southern part of it, the city or the county of Varamin. And these crimes took place mostly in Varamin, but it also went into the other parts of the province, so not only in that city. Everything started in March of 1963 when the beheaded body of a man was found inside of a well in Nematabad, Varamin. After people told the police of this finding, started their investigation, and they found the beheaded body of a young man with his hands tied behind his back. They noticed that this man was abused before getting murdered, and then after killing him, he threw his headless body down the well. Now I'm not sure if he beheaded them to murder them or if he strangled them and then beheaded them post-mortem. I couldn't find the exact way he did it, but there is a quote from him that made it seem like he was beheading them as a city in Varamin named Dolatabad. This woman, like the other guy, had her hands and legs tied behind her back. She was also abused. The last body that was discovered belonged to a young ticket seller who had went missing a few days prior. And interestingly enough, his body was found by a justice system worker, someone who worked in the court of Varamin. This worker had gone to vacation to the outer skirts of Varamin when he found a trail of blood that led to a well. And since he worked in the court and had heard about bodies that had been found in the wells and aqueducts around the area, he immediately called the police. And when they arrived at the scene, they brought out the ticket boy's body from the well. In the following couple of months, in 1963, officers found 7 headless bodies inside wells and aqueducts around the city of Tehran, especially in Varamin. This is 61 years ago in Iran, and it's not like 61 years ago in America. Maybe 61 years ago in America is more like Iran now. So anyway, people around that time were especially more superstitious than they are now. So they started thinking that they always said this before this happened, but they had this superstition that inside the wells and aqueducts or wherever there is water, still water, there are creatures living there. And by creatures I mean spiritual beings like jinns and stuff. So they thought there was this jinn going around murdering young boys and throwing them inside these wells, which is a horrifying thought. It just gave me goosebumps for the 3rd time since yesterday that I learned about this case. In Varamin, learned about a bicycle theft that was going on, in which people would steal bicycles in Tehran and they would sell them in Varamin. And they got a man named Hamid about this case, about the theft. And then he gave up the name of his accomplice, Hushang, to the police. Hushang is spelled Hoshang. 61 years ago, and he's only getting caught about a couple of bicycles that are getting stolen. Why would he run from the police before they even told him why they were there? Now that made police really be suspicious about him, and they started looking into his past, and they found that he had they say a while back there was a police car patrolling around the deserted areas of Aramin when they came upon two men. One of them was holding down the other. The other one had his hands tied behind his back. The police saved the young man, and Hu Shang went to prison for a little while. But now he was out, and there were a lot of serial killings going around the city, and they had no suspects. But now the suspect has just fallen into their lap by stealing bicycles and then running away from the police, while also having a background in exactly what the killer is doing. Now the police were suspicious that this man wasn't only stealing bicycles, and he might be behind the serial killings that have been going on. Reading into his documents showed that Hu Shang was a 26-year-old, and he was working as a chauffeur, and not even a chauffeur, he would sit next to their actual driver and help them. But that wasn't his only way that he was earning money. He would also go around the city of Aramin and bully people who had stores and would rob them of their money. They also say that he was a notorious gambler around the city, and that he would always wear a felt hat, something like this, and you can actually see him wearing that in these photos. Also, it's crazy that in these pictures this man is no older than 26. He died when he was 27. So in these pictures he might even be younger, which is nuts. He looks 45 at least. But again, this is 60 years ago. So police built up this big case against Hu Shang, which by then was the main suspect in this decapitation killing sister's house. They decided to go in and look for him, and they found him hiding inside one of these chests that people used to have inside their homes back then. Now, why is it that this man, everything about this case is so cinematic, you know? Why was he found inside of a chest? They should make a movie out of this case. How they haven't yet is beyond me. Again, maybe the same reason no one knows this man's name ever, because no one wanted to make a movie about him or talk about him or even acknowledge that he ever existed. After getting caught, Wu Shang admitted to 7 of the murders. But when police found more bodies, they did more interrogations, and he admitted to 2 more killings. At this time, a lot of people had started to call him the felt hat killer or the Varamini Wu Shang. They also called him the ghost of the Varamin aqueducts, which sounds a lot more terrifying in Farsi. Shabah Qanata. Man, I got an eerie feeling that by saying his name so many times in the last couple of days and thinking about him when no one has for years, bringing his ghost into my life somehow. Sounds crazy. Let's keep reading. So the police interrogations and searches kept ongoing till Wu Shang admitted to a newspaper that he killed 14 other people. Now, Wu Shang has admitted to murdering 23 people by decapitation. Police said that Wu Shang is even more dangerous than Asghar the Killer, which is another serial killer that Wu Shang said he was trying to, replicate. They said they never could figure out when was his first murder, and some of the bodies have never been found. And according to the police, there are some killings that he never even talked about. Some say that the number is up to 65 or 6. He admitted to 23. Can't even think about those bodies. You think no one ever found them? Maybe the wells were not used ever again. They were filled up and they were left there. I don't know, maybe. Or maybe they found the bodies but they never could make the connection to Wu Shang. But I think they would, because how many other people were committing such crimes back then. So while they were searching for who the victims were, Shang admitted to murdering a German businessman that had came to Iran for work. Shang said that he found this German man whose name was Ernst Long. He found him drunk in Tehran, and he took him in the deserted areas called Meskarabad, and he robbed him of his money and whatever he had, and killed him and threw him down a well. Now they asked him for his reasoning behind these murders. He said, just like the other serial killer I talked about, he said that he wanted to rid the world of impurity and evilness, which makes no sense, does it? Because he went after little boys and young girls. I don't know how they were any evil, but then again, this is a vicious monster who had no reasoning behind his crimes, and now that he's caught, he's just trying to, gain some empathy from people, which he never did. Because what do you mean impurities? These were little children whom you abused and decapitated and threw away like trash. I don't really know. He shouldn't have said that at all, because it makes no sense, and it didn't help him at all. Just made him sound even worse. After the police got all the information from him that they could, and after they gathered all the evidence against him, he was convicted of the murders, sentenced to death, and they took him to an area in Tehran called Tubkhane, and they say on the day that they were gonna execute him by hanging. As you can see in this picture, he started singing. People say that he had a good voice and that he impacted some of the audience, and he was really calm, and he didn't seem to be afraid of the fact that he's about to die. But that door underneath his legs opened up, and he was hanged to death for the heinous crimes that he committed. His body was hanged in that square for a while, so that it could be a lesson to others. And that is the end of the article and the end of the informations that I could find on this man and his crimes. Now this was a long one. I hope you've slept this far, and that all of these talks